car. We walk down into the pier. There's balloons. Irish people love balloons. I swear to God, if there's a wake, there's balloons. We just love them. I don't know why. So there's tiki lamps, and then there's fires all around the pier. And then for some reason, my dad has put a bottle of champagne with the friends. They put it there, but he has a rocking chair and a velvet rug. Now I don't know what he thinks is going to happen when someone proposes, but he has these ideas that this is what it's going to look like.
You just sit in a rocking chair and relax.
Something, I don't know. So I get to the edge of the pier, and then I always said the reason for being at the edge of the pier is if she says no,
you got a place to jump.
Chuck her in, or exactly, or I throw the ring as far as possible. So I ask her, and then she laughs for a good minute solid, and I'm like, oh my God, is that a yes or a no? So then she says yes, and when she does, my friends come out of the bushes and my dad, and they're all applauding, and we retake a picture of me proposing.
Nice.
And they have the champagne, so they open it up and everyone has a drink except for myself. I think they had sparkling apple cider for me, which was great.
And nobody rocked on the rocking chair.
Nobody rocked in the rocking chair, which my dad I think was a little disappointed by. Sorry, Brett. So now we have to get out of there as quickly as we can because it's a private castle. So we pull everything off and we chuck it into the back of my dad's van. I think the tiki lamps were still lit at this point, so I'm like, this is dangerous, but whatever. So we drive away, and thankfully she says yes, because we return to my village of Headford, and everybody is back there ready to celebrate in my parents' home. So I can't imagine how devastating it would have been if she had said no, and my parents are trying to get everybody out of the house, right? They're like, everyone out. So great party. Next day it's on the local radio station. Congratulations to Amy and Stu. It's just real hometown feel. Like it's just small. It's awesome. But now she has to fly back to America without her now fiance. So she flies back, and now we go through the whole K1 visa, which is, again, it's a long, lengthy process for the most part. And my friend gives me a book, and it's literally by an immigration lawyer who's decided he can't take people being ripped off anymore. So it's basically just all the legal things that you have to do, and all the paperwork. So, because people, when you file a piece of paper, you have to pay for it. So they just don't want you to file incorrect paperwork, cost you an arm and leg, blah, blah, blah. So we have an immigration lawyer over here, and we pay, well, I'm very fortunate. I had wonderful people in my life, and my in-laws were incredible, and they helped pay. It was like $11,000 just for the paperwork to go through and everything else to be done. But you want everything to work out, right?
Yeah.
So at that point, like you said, why are we not in Ireland? So Amy is an elementary school teacher at the time. To teach elementary back in Ireland in those days, you had to speak Irish and you had to teach Irish. Two things Amy wasn't going to do, right? It was next to impossible. I had been learning Irish from kindergarten through senior year. Calling Greenock Tatnaf. That means that the sun is shining. They don't let you just
do a little bit of an accent. Good enough. They don't,
it's not good enough.
Let's just not good enough. You've got a good accent. I like them.
Not good enough.
No, damn.
And the other thing is, Amy is solar powered. So 220 days of rain a year was not going to be her thing, right? So it wasn't to be. So we finally get the go-ahead. Amy's over in April. I get a call to go to the embassy. I go to the embassy, and we're both there for the interview, which is very quick. It's literally talking to somebody behind a glass window, and they basically said, we went through all your paperwork, and we've decided that, yes, you're good to go. So I'm like, oh my God, this is great. So Amy flies back. Now she has to organize everything without me being there. So the venue, the florist, the photographer, everybody, with the chance that there's still an opportunity that it might not happen, right? So we get everybody to say yes, everyone's on board, this is great. Now we go to the Squantum Club in East Providence, which is gorgeous. Whoever at the time was doing the website, I told them it was the most horrific website. I thought we were literally getting married in a barn. And then when I got there to see it for the first time, it was gorgeous. A beautiful, beautiful spot. So we have it all set up, so we can only have 165 people. So Amy's invited 100. I invite 90, thinking no one's coming, because at this point they only have about 3 months' notice. You have to have money for tickets to fly to America, pay for accommodation. You're obviously going to make it a holiday. You're not going to come for 2 days and fly back. So I'm like, no one's going to come. 80. Everyone says they're coming. So now I have to uninvite about 20 people.
Oh, God.
And it was hard. I got one email from Danny Corbett, I still remember to this day, buddy. And he's like, Stu, I can't believe it. I've been one of your best friends forever, and this is what you do to me. And I'm like, oh my God. So I call him up, and I'm like, Danny, listen, I'm so sorry. And he starts roaring laughing. He's like, dude, you saved me about $3,000. He's like, you're good. 3,000 euros. He's like, thank you. It's no problems. So I was like, everyone was so exceptional. It was great. So now I fly over, and this is July 6th, 2000, and I gotta get this right, 2006, because I was 25. So 2006, and I was here less than a week, and my father-in-law to be, Walter, who was an absolute, anybody who knew him, Walter DeRosco, he was one of the funniest characters, and if you knew him, you definitely knew him, because he was just, he would have been here I guarantee it, he would have done podcasts, just a great human being. So he just has this kind of like angry outbursts, and we're over in a neighbour's house, we're in the pool, we're having a nice little get together, and he just leaves. And we said, he didn't drink that much. We're like, this is odd. So that night, he's going to the bathroom and he doesn't know how to find the bathroom from his room. And his wife Peggy was like, it's just over here. So she tries to get him to the restroom, and then the next morning it's just, there's something not right. So go to the doctor. Turns out that he was having mild seizures, and then when they do some testing, within a week we find out that he has a cancerous brain tumor. So now again, you say everything happens for a reason. So had Amy come to Ireland, what a disaster that would have been, right? Because now your dad is diagnosed with cancer. What do you do? So once we got that news, it was literally 3 weeks before the wedding. Now it's like, well, whatever happens on the day of the wedding, who cares? Like, we had somebody and a family friend, the Murphys, made a cake for us. We had a friend of Walter and Peggy's who had us over at their house for the reception. What do you call it, the day before?
Oh, the rehearsal.
Rehearsal. Thank you. Again, not something we do. Nothing. Just get married on the day. Rehearsal. What? My mom and dad actually.
You got to make it perfect.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We got to make sure.
Rehearsals did we have? Bill married me.
Okay.
And that's a whole nother show.
And then we separated it.
No, when you actually married me. He performed my wedding, and there was like 4 or 5 rehearsals.
Yeah.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was quite a production.
Backyard.
Yeah, it was
In
quite.
his backyard.
There was.
We also had to run it through the people because of my accent to make sure that they wouldn't giggle through the whole thing. So
he did it full Spanish.
Now, was everybody there or not for the rehearsal piece?
for the rehearsal, all the bridesmaids and
all
stuff.
the bridesmaids, all the wedding party.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah.
Because my mom and dad were in Providence, because we didn't think we had to be at the rehearsal. So my wife's now losing her mind. She's like, where are your parents? I said, I think they're still in Providence with everybody, a re-rose. And she's like, they're supposed to be at the rehearsal. I'm like, no, and she's like, no, they have to be there. So she had to leave to pick them up and bring them to the rehearsal. Disaster. So I apologize again for that. That was worse than the pizza. Mm-hmm. So now we're just all about having the wedding day, right? And making sure Walter could be there and everything goes well. And we had a good, they had given us a few years and we're like, this is good, we can make this work. So the wedding day arrives, and it is pouring, downpour. It's unbelievable. So we're like, it's just God. He's so happy. He's crying. Whatever. You come up with as many reasons as possible. And all the Irish were here, so there was no Child of Prague. We put out this beautiful statue in Ireland before a wedding, and that's supposed to give you a dry day. Yeah. Well, obviously everybody was in America, so the Child of Prague wasn't put out. So everyone goes on a school bus to the wedding, which is amazing. Now my friends are picking me up at the apartment that we're in, and they got the I-95 and 95 mixed up. So they're halfway to Narragansett. At this point, in the rain, one of them had to get out because he's puking. He's so sick from the night before drinking. So it's just a complete disaster at this point. So they pick me up, get me to the church on time. Amy gets there with her dad and mom and all the bridesmaids and everything, and they find out that the bus is now lost. So the school bus is randomly going around different parts of East Providence, and it's nowhere near the church. So Amy has to circle the church. At this point, you're like, leave this guy where he is. And eventually the school bus comes and she gets out, and I'll tell you, the ceremony was magnificent. One of my good friends was doing a tour of music with her band out in France, and she had just flown in that morning, and she had written a song, and she literally arrived about a half hour before the wedding started. So everything just came together. It was magical. I mean, everything about it was so great. And then we went back to the Squantum. And then at the Squantum, I don't know to this day how the side deck where we had the wedding, where the bar is still standing. All night we danced for about, 4 hours solid. Sweat profusely dropping off everybody. It was just a show. It was fantastic. And I said, the sad part is that it end, right? So then we all went back, because weddings over here end far too early, by the way. In Ireland, they finish at 2:30. Yeah. So you have a band go from 8 to 10:30, 11 o'clock. Then you have tea and sandwiches. And then at midnight, the DJ comes on. And then the DJ goes till 2 o'clock. And then they kick everybody out, and you're gone at about 2:30. And over here, when people heard we were done at 11, they're like, what do you mean we're done? I'm like, we're done at 11. And then we're back into Providence. We went to Re-Raw. There was a water fire that night, so they got the real Rhode Island experience. Yeah. So now we went to New York 2 days later and met all the Irish there, and they didn't see a sight. They didn't see anything. Where did they spend the whole time? in an Irish pub.
Yeah, of course.
Unbelievable. I said, did you go see the set? No,
Nah.
we just stayed here. It was a bit wet out, so we just...
Wanted to see if the Americans could pull it off.
Right. How's the Guinness over here? I'm like, really?
Yeah.
It's Guinness. It's unbelievable. All the time. The only time was my brother went out to get a tattoo and he got a shamrock with the Irish flag, the American flag inside. Shamrock was for me and the American flag was for Amy.
There you go.
Like, there you go. That's beautiful, wasn't it?
Yes.
And then the sad part was everybody had to go back.
You should have had a little broken bridge for Rhode Island.
Well, actually, there was probably a broken bridge at that point too.
We just didn't know.
We didn't know. So then they all went back, and then it was life on our own back here. So for the next year, you couldn't work. I had to wait till I got my green card.
Oh, yes.
So that took a good year and a half. So I got to look after my father-in-law for the next year. So
Everything happens for a reason.
yeah. So during that, like, I'll never forget, he would try different types of medication, and you know, for some reason, every side effect, he had every side effect. So instead of helping him to improve, he had every side effect.
Yeah.
So I'd bring him out walking every day, and then there was a time where like he was losing his balance and he was losing his ability to walk, so I'd throw his arm around my shoulder, and I'll never forget, it was winter time and there was snow outside, and I was walking like, Walter, we never give up hope, buddy. I said, you're going to get stronger, you're going to get better. And he was like, I effing hate you, you're effing fired. I'm like, Walter, I'm not hired, buddy, I'm volunteering here, I'm just helping you around. So we just had, in the next 11 months, we had the greatest relationship that I don't think anybody could ever have. I got to know my father-in-law so well over those 11 months, and my mother-in-law. It was just an amazing time. And while it was devastating at the same time, it was just this lovely part about like how, you know, you either grow as a family or it makes you break, right? Because sickness does, like that can be a challenge for anybody.
Yes.
So I got to know my father-in-law so well, and he would wake up from his nap every day and he'd be like, I love you, I want to marry you. I'm like, well, we have to talk to Becky about that. I'm not sure that's going to happen. And I remember like I'd have him up vacuuming, and Peggy's like, how'd you make him do that? I'm like, because I'm not married to him. So I'm like, he's going to get angry with you, but he's going to do what I say, because I'm like, Walter, you got to do it. So we went on for about 11 months, and I'll never forget, he had a seizure, and he went back into the hospital, and it was at that point that they told us that it didn't look good. And I'll never forget how beautiful even that was, because all of his friends came in and they snuck in wine, and they'd have chit chats and tell stories about him.
Part of life.
All part of life. So he was lying there, and I firmly believe that he heard everything we were saying, and he heard all the stories, and I'm sure he wanted to get involved in some part in it. And on that Sunday morning, I remember Peggy was reading the Providence paper, the Providence Journal, and I was sitting there with Amy and his son, who he never wanted to show how sick he was. His son had just left, Mike, to go play a baseball game. And he hadn't even left the parking lot, and Walter took his last breath. And I'm like, it was just exactly how he wanted it to be. He didn't want Michael to be there. You know, he wanted to, and obviously he came back right away. But I'm like, it was the most fascinating 11 months to watch him go through what he went through, and to think that, you know, we honestly believed that he was going to get better, and it didn't pan out. It was amazing. It really was. So I think that made us stronger as a couple. I think my relationship with my mother-in-law was the best. Like, Peggy was my best audience. She was amazing. She laughed at every joke I told. Not everybody does. And she's just a great human being. And I just remember that at that point, like, I didn't have a job, right? And I was still, you know, I just obviously passed the driving test in the US, which was great. And I was still waiting on the green card. And it was at that point that we just kind of said, my wife said, you know what, you need to go back to school. So I went back to school. Then we decided to have a kid. Again, everything ass backwards, as you say in Ireland. And when we had our daughter, we thought Walter might not be the best, you know, calling in Walter, and then this little girl comes flying in. It would have been fine, little Wally. But we ended up calling her Hope, because we never give up hope. Yeah, exactly. So we had little Hope, and she's now a 17-year-old functioning human being, which is amazing. And then 2 years later, we had our son, and my son is named after my best friend, who told me to volunteer for Special Olympics, Cormac, and he's actually going to be here on Thursday. But I'm like, it's those things that just remind me of how fortunate I am in life and all the great things that I have. It really is. And I mean, our story is just one that, like, it's a real roller coaster. You know, we're unfortunate to lose Peggy. We're coming up on 5 years now. She was 70 years old when she passed in her sleep. But we had so much fun. Like I said, there wasn't one thing that we look back on and regret, like, oh, we should have done this or we should have done that. Like, we tried to live each day to the fullest, even getting involved in a podcast to McShorty's in Riverside, and make sure you come and visit everybody. It just shows you how great life can be, no matter where you live.
Yeah, everything in life is either going to be a launching point or a drowning point.
100%.
You got to figure it out.
1,000%. You do. And I think even at 25, like, you think you're well able to do everything in life. But all these curveballs get thrown at you, and you say to yourself, you really do.
I'm sure you learned an immense
1000%.
amount
Yeah.
in that time with your father.
Yeah.
I had a neighbor that had cancer, and I spent a lot of daily time with him for a long time. I used to tell everybody I learned more in that time about life than I did any other time.
You really do.
I mean, just watching somebody go through that, you